Welcome to this week's Arkansas Football Recruiting Report. As always, I'm joined by our Hogville football insider, Otis Kirk. And Otis, we have been tracking, I know you especially have been tracking scholarships for this 2022 class for a long time now, and we are nearing the end for Sam Pittman and the amount of scholarships he has left. Just three.
Yeah.
What do you
And
think they could use in that final three scholarships? Are you impressed with this class that he has so far?
I like the class so far. I think some of these rankings you see don't include the transfers. And I honestly don't know how you can talk about a recruiting class. And I'm not talking about Arkansas. Honestly, I don't know how you can talk about a recruiting class anywhere in 2022, and not talk about transfers because I mean Arkansas's got 5 of them, and that's about par around the country. I mean, everybody's taking advantage of the transfer portal. And I'm impressed because I think you what in the past, one thing they've had to do, Nick, in the past, like if you lost to Traylon Burks, you probably go to JUCO to try to replace him, to get an older player. And a lot of times that's 50-50 if you hit on that kid or not. Where now you go to OU and get their leading receiver who had 39 catches, number of catches, he was their leading receiver. Right? There were more people with yardage, but you'll get Jaden Hazelwood, and he's proved it in the Big 12 and at OU. So you feel a lot more comfortable about saying, well, I feel we've replaced Traylon Burks about as well as you can replace Traylon Burks. And they've gone down the list. I mean, you lose Greg Brooks to LSU. You go get the kid from Georgia. So I mean, it's just I like the class, but as far as where they could go, I'm looking at 2 positions, maybe 3. I think they'll go defense if they add more when they add the 3. Defensive line, maybe an interior defensive lineman. They didn't get Jackson Player, and they thought they were going to from Tulsa. He went to Baylor. So I think, and that was an interior defensive lineman. You lost Ridgeway. So therefore, I think they might go for an interior defensive lineman. If they can find an outside pass rusher on the outside, they're not going to turn that down. Nobody turns down pass rushers. And then a linebacker, maybe another linebacker. You lost Parker. You lost some other kids there. The numbers are a little low there, although you do bring in the 3 kids at midterm. If they win offense, I think it would be offensive tackle. If they could find an impact left tackle to take Myron Cunningham's place, they might do that. But then you've got Jalen St. John, Tykees Crawford, so you can't forget those guys. So, and you've got others too. You got Luke Jones. I mean, it's not like they're out here searching the nation for an offensive tackle. But I do think if they found an offensive tackle, impact left tackle, they would probably take him. But other than that, I think it'll go on defense. They've really shored up the tight end spot. Receiver, I think Hazelwood was what they wanted. They feel good about the 3 kids they signed last year. They signed 3 other kids in the class besides Hazelwood in this class. You've got the high school receivers. So I think they feel pretty good about that. Running back, they're sitting fine
Yeah.
there.
Oh, yeah.
And quarterback, I mean, they never had intentions of signing somebody in 2022. So you can pretty much knock out quarterback there, especially with Hornsby coming back now. And they had the transfer from Florida International.
Yeah,
We're going to
Cade
talk about
Fortin.
walkons later, but this is a kid that was a 3-star and signed with North Carolina on scholarship out of high school. So I mean, it's not like he can't play. So I mean, I think Arkansas really, you would look. I think you're looking more. And when I know what Sam Pittman, I was not going to turn down anybody that can make you better at any position. I get that, but if all things are equal, I think they'll try to get an interior defensive lineman, a linebacker, and then with the third one, I would say probably someone who can rush from anywhere on the defensive line, or like I said, an impact left tackle on offense. I think that's the 3 spots. Those are kind of 4 spots for 3 players, but I think that the emphasis will be on defense, Nick. I think they feel pretty good about what they've done on offense.
Yeah, they lost a lot on that defensive line. Ridgeway,
Yeah,
Williams, that's a lot to replace. So 3 of those
yeah.
scholarships could be going into the trenches. And we know really that's Sam Pittman's favorite part of the football field is right up front. That's where his mind always goes. And it will be interesting to see
Uh,
2022 what happens.
I don't want fans to forget Cam Ball, though. This is a kid that signed last year and 6'5", 303. Ridgway said he's a man. Stromberg says he's a man. I mean, these are people that see him in practice. So let's don't forget Cam Ball. I mean, it's easy. What happens every year, every recruiting class, they're great, and then when you get a year here, everybody forgets about them. But they've got, and not just Cam Ball, they've got some other kids that they signed last year who redshirted can help this team. You got two cornerbacks, so there's some players out here. All four offensive linemen they signed last year redshirted. I love Terry Wells and some of those guys.
Let's forecast, Otis. Now, out of 2022, these are immediate impact guys that you're going to get on the field next year. But now let's look a little farther into the future and go 2023. While we're finalizing 2022, this class the year after, just getting started. You tell me 8 commitments right now for 2023.
Yeah, and there's no truth to the rumor Dow Loggins is going to sign 25 four-star tight ends. He's going to stop at 3, I think. But no, it's a joke. But no, I mean, you talking about somebody shoring up the tight end room and doing a great job of Dow really get some home runs there in that tight end room, getting Shamar Easter from Ashdown, Jaden Ham from up in Eudora, Kansas, and Luke Haas from over in Bixby. And people say, well, you think they can hold on to Ham? Well, I mean, he hasn't decommitted yet. So I assume anybody's committed, if they haven't decommitted, they're going to sign. But there's as I tell people, it's a long way till December. So anything can happen. And not just at tight end, but any position. But I mean, you got to look at in recruiting, you've got to look at it as it is now. And they've got 3 4-star tight ends committed. Then, you go inside the state. We talked about Easter, but Joey Sua from Bentonville, big offensive tackle. I mean, this was kind of a gift that fell in their lap.
Yeah, he burst out of the scene.
That bad, but it's a kid from California. Walmart moved his mother to Bentonville, and he comes to fail. And they would have never gotten a kid if he'd stayed in California. And all likelihood, because one reason he chose Arkansas, he told me, was because he wanted to stay close to home so his parents could see him play. Well, if he's in California, he probably goes somewhere out there.
Yeah.
So that's what this was a gift from heaven for Judd Pittman and Cody Kendi and those guys. But Joey I saw him play, and man, I'll tell you what, he's a man. He's a man among boys. I don't know how he's a 3-star, but that's the story. A kid we talked about a million times on here is Caleb James. He finally committed, and I mean, he's in a new school, but it doesn't matter. I mean, he's still the same impact player. One of the best, I think, defensive linemen in Texas. Anthony Evans is a receiver who's got big time speed, and then Dallas Young's a cornerback from Alabama that Sam Carter had gotten a commitment on before he left. He did offer him at Ole Miss the other day, but I think Arkansas feels like they're still in the driver's. There again, I've had questions about, well, what do you think Dallas Young will go to Ole Miss? Well, I think Dallas Young's committed to Arkansas. You can't live in the future in recruiting thinking, well, what if it? I mean, you got to realize till any of these kids sign, any of them could go anywhere else.
Yeah.
But right now, Dallas Young is solid with Arkansas, and that's all you can ask for. And then Everett Russo was another one from Ellenwood Cedar Grove, the linebacker who committed. He joins Jaden Hazelwood and Rashad Dubanon here. I mean, this is a kid that's from that same high school. Jimmy Smith has got a pipeline into that school. And obviously, he's got help from Kenny Guyton and Michael Shearer and those guys recruiting these kids. And, and he got Dubanon, the running back. But I mean, that's a school that wins championships down there. And anytime you can get a pipeline into a school that's a great school and has prospects every year, that's huge. And they've done that there. And they've offered some other kids from that school too, not just in 2023, but even beyond. They've got some offers out to that school besides other kids besides Russo. And I'm just telling you, I mean, they may pull some more in from there. So that's a good class, but they've got 8 right now. And one thing you will see in this class is something I always get asked about. You will see a quarterback signed, and they're on some good ones. I had a story the other day about the kid from Kansas that came down for the junior day last Saturday, but they will sign a quarterback, at least one. And I think that's the preference, is always to sign one, because if you get 2, you get a number thing. But if some currently on the team couple of them hit the transfer portal, they might have to sign two.
Mhm.
But right now, the intent is to sign one, and we'll see who it is. But they're on some good ones, obviously. And that was, Sam said that one reason they didn't sign a quarterback in 2022, they were on a bunch of good ones in 2023. He thought it might help get one of them if you didn't sign one in 2022. And you're sitting there with KJ Jefferson, Malik Hornsby, and
Yeah.
Lucas Coley.
You're pretty
And
good.
then that's not even counting the kid that transferred from Ole Miss last year and the walk on from Florida International. So you're sitting there pretty good shape at quarterback, and so that's why. But yeah, they're really targeting some. Avery Johnson was down here last weekend. I tell you what, he's from Mays, Kansas. If you could pull he and Jaden Helm out of Kansas and get them down here, whew, that'd be some recruiting. And they love Avery Johnson. He came to camp. I saw him throw some here. I mean, you can go in there and watch his YouTube. I think I put some of his highlights in with the story I always do. But that's a kid that can really throw the football around and someone that they'd love to have. But then again, basically every school in recruits Kansas would love to have him. So they've got competition there. But they're going to get a good quarterback, whether it's him or one of the kids somewhere else. The kid out of Denton, Ryan, did go to OU, so Arkansas didn't get him.
Well, I'll tell you, KJ Jefferson can't be your quarterback forever, so you do have to prepare for the future, and that might come in class of 2023. We know that you'll keep us updated. Now, one number that jumped off the page for me when you sent me your notes about what today was the preferred walk-on class. And I looked at this number, I said, wow, 15 preferred walk-ons in the upcoming class is pretty substantial number.
Yeah, and let's explain one thing here, because I know people get confused about the preferred walk-on, but one thing that happened last year, Arkansas brought back the super seniors, and they did not count against the 85. You got a large group, 12 or 13 of them. I don't remember exactly how many. And so those kids didn't count against the 85, so there was really no room to add preferred walk-ons last year. They had a couple, but the offensive lineman out of Bentonville, a few select ones, but that was it. But now with the kids like Bumper Pool and them that came back counting against, and Dalton Wagner and them counting against the 85, they needed these numbers to get back up. So now you're seeing all these preferred walk-ons, and they're getting kids in this class as preferred walk-ons who have Power 5 offers. It may not be the top of the line Power 5 offers, but it doesn't matter. They got Power 5 offers. We had Daryl Searcy on the show last week. He had offers. I mean, plenty of offers, and then just some quick numbers. I mean, Ethan Joseph's the kid that was committed to Air Force, decommitted, linebacker out of Georgia, came here. I mean, Hunter Talley's a big tight end out of Siloam Springs, played quarterback for Siloam Springs, but going to play tight end here. He's about 6'5", 200 or so, 210. Gabe Fortin is the kid we talked about a while ago, the quarterback from Florida International. People may not understand this, but this kid signed with North Carolina out of high school on scholarship. So, I mean, he wasn't always a walk-on. Brock Burns is one of the kids I talked about, had Power 5 offers. He was once committed to Kansas. Big offensive lineman out of Ozark, Arkansas, 6'4", 295. He was committed to Kansas. Randall Dennis Jr., big defensive lineman another kid out of Georgia. Blake Ford will be Vito Calvarusso's replacement at kickoff guy. He's from Texas. You get, we talked about Daryl Searcy, but Cam Bibby was another kid that came to junior day last Saturday over here that I ran into. And I mean, he had over 1,000 yards receiving for El Dorado this year, Nick. They won the state championship, beat a very good Greenwood program and team. I mean, anytime you beat Greenwood, it's kind of like beating a few. There's 2 or 3 schools like Bryant and Greenwood and Pulaski Academy. Anytime you beat those teams, you've done something. And El Dorado did. And Cam had over 1,000 yards receiver. He's going to walk on and play at Arkansas. He had offers, not Power 5, but he had small. John Paul Pickens from Jonesboro, defensive back, had a lot of offers to like military schools and stuff. He's good friends with Josh Heineman, the pitcher who signed with Arkansas from Jonesboro. And so, and then, we can talk about Kyle Thompson, from Boogie Thompson from Aledo, a defensive end. He's going to boogie on some quarterbacks maybe. And then, 2 kids, Brooks Edmondson is another kid, Brooks Edmondson from Bryant, who I was just talking about. 6'4", about 295, about the same size as Brock Burns. I saw both of them at the monster camp I went to over at Maumelle. And Brooks was offered by Kansas. Another school came down. I believe it came down to Princeton and Arkansas for him. But it tells you he's got a lot higher IQ than I have, with Princeton recruiting him. So but no, he's a big offensive lineman. Cody Kennedy will do well with him. And then Landon Phillips was the last one I have committing out of Springdale, kid that took one for the team. He played quarterback up there this year at 6 foot 185, real fast, but he's a defensive back. But he played quarterback simply because he was the best athlete probably on the team. Well, the team needed him, whether he's the best
He was
athlete or not.
great. I watched a few games with him. He
Yeah.
was awesome when he played. When I would watch him play Fayetteville.
Yeah, and he is he's a kid that's going to walk on, play defensive back here. And he could have been probably, if they'd had a really good quarterback, he could have been a really good receiver on offense. But he took one for the team, played quarterback, did it for the team, and then of course, like I said, but he'll play for back in the secondary here at Arkansas. But I mean, that's just a quick hit on most of these kids. But I mean, these are named. Promise you, some of these kids will probably never do anything here. But as you and I were talking off the air, some of these kids will make an impact. And I'm not talking about just on special teams. Some of these kids will make a big impact at Arkansas. I'm telling you, Daryl Cersei is going to get buried with the running backs. But if he gets a chance to play, it may be like Drew Morgan and some of those guys.
Yeah.
He may be too good to take Alabama. I mean, this is a kid, had he gone to Missouri State, he would have played against Arkansas when they play in September this year. He was as a true freshman, he would have played for Missouri State,
Yeah, never count out a walk-on. Never count them out. They're hardworking and they can make an impact when their number's called. So 15
and they want to
of
be
them.
here. They want to be here, and that's huge. I mean, and they got talent. Let's don't act like just because they're walk-on, they're void of talent. They're not. They've got talent. Obviously, they're short in some area, or they wouldn't be walking on in most cases. But they want to be here. They're determined, and if they're going to outwork some people, and that's what separates them, and that's why you see a Brandon Burkle, you see a Grant Morgan. I promise you, Grant Morgan has not had the most talent of all the linebackers to walk through that door over there, but he outworked them. And Grant Morgan had talent, but he was not the natural. He worked his rear off, and you see the results for it. And and there's stories like that all the time. I mean, we can go down the list there.
15 of them. Who's going to be the next Grant Morgan is going to be the question. I'm sure that's the standard now to look up for in the Arkansas football program. Otis Kirk, thank you so much for joining us. That wraps up our Arkansas football recruiting report.
Thanks for having me on.